"What are you doing here, son? Lost your way to high school." Judge Malcolm Brewster's voice rang across the courtroom with a smugness that made several spectators chuckle. His powdered white wig perched atop his balding head, and his gavel-wielding hand trembled slightly, not from age, but arrogance. He looked over his half-moon spectacles at the young black teen, standing confidently at the defense table, clad in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, holding a brown leather briefcase that looked like it had more experience in court than he did. "I'm here to represent my client, Your Honor," the young man replied, unfazed. Standing tall with squared shoulders, the judge leaned forward, mouth curling into a sarcastic grin. "Are we filming a student documentary today, or did someone bring their nephew for career day?" Snickers erupted again. The prosecutor, Miss Janice Merrow, shook her head with a patronizing smirk, whispering something to her assistant. The young man's name was Malik Thompson, 17 years old, black, and a bar-certified attorney. No one in the room knew that yet. "My name is Malik Thompson," he said, each word crisp. "And I passed the bar exam in this state 6 months ago. I'm a licensed attorney. I'm here to represent Mr. Elridge Harris, who has been falsely accused of armed robbery." Silence. Judge Brewster blinked. Janice Merrow stopped flipping through her binder. The murmurs died. The entire courtroom froze, like someone had slammed a pause button on the drama they thought they were watching. "That's impossible," the judge muttered. How old are you?" 17, Your Honor," Malik said evenly. "I don't believe this. Where's your supervisor?" Malik opened his briefcase and took out a sealed envelope. Signed documentation from the State Bar Association and a direct letter from the Chief Justice confirming my credentials. He walked up to the bench, handed the documents to the bailiff, who passed them to the judge. Brewster squinted, read, then read again. His lips tightened. This must be some kind of joke." "No joke, sir," Malik said. "I work for it, just like anyone else." The judge leaned back in his chair, silence dripping heavy from the ceiling. "Well, this is highly unorthodox." "Unorthodox? Yes," Malik said, "but legal." Janice Merrow cleared her throat. "Your Honor, I don't mean to question the credentials, but this is a criminal trial, a serious one. We can't allow a licensed attorney to do his job," Malik interjected. "Or are we questioning something else?" Janice hesitated. Her gaze dropped. The judge tapped his gavel once. "Order," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "Very well. The court will proceed." Malik walked back to his table, opened his files, and glanced at his client, a wiry older black man in his 50s with tired eyes and shaking hands. Elridge Harris had been wrongfully arrested 3 months prior, after a convenience store was robbed. Despite lack of clear evidence, police claimed his resemblance matched a blurry security camera photo. "Don't worry," Malik whispered to him. "We're going to win this. You're a kid," Elridge replied, voice cracking. "A smart kid, maybe, but you know what they'll do to me? They'll do nothing," Malik said, "because I'm not walking out of this courtroom until you're a free man." The prosecution began. Janice Merrow's voice was confident, smooth, rehearsed. She laid out the narrative like a movie plot: crime, motive, suspect, to rest. Her key witness was Officer Darren Cole, a tall, broad-shouldered cop with a southern drawl and a defensive edge to his tone. "We received an anonymous tip," Cole said, pointing to Mr. Elridge Harris. "When we brought him in, he matched the suspect's description. Same height, build, clothes. Plus, he has a criminal record." "What kind of criminal record?" Malik asked when it was his turn to cross-examine. "Objection," Janice cut in. "Irrelevant. Overruled," Brewster said, still glaring at Malik like the very concept of him being there gave him heartburn. Officer Cole cleared his throat. "Petty theft. 22 years ago, and since then," Malik pressed. "Nothing," Cole admitted. Malik paced slowly. "So, you arrested a man with a 22-year-old petty theft charge based on a blurry photo and an anonymous tip." Cole shifted. "It was enough for probable cause. And where's the footage from the security camera. We submitted it to evidence. I'd like to request it be played now. Janice's face twitched. Your Honor, play the footage. The judge sighed. The screen flickered on. A grainy, black and white video played. A man with a hoodie walked into the store, held something up to the cashier, took cash, and ran. His face was obscured. That could be anyone, Malik said. No clear facial ID, no distinguishing marks. And, the man appears to be limping slightly. Mr. Harris has no limp. Officer Cole, did you note any limp during arrest? No. So you ignored the most obvious discrepancy. Cole's jaw clenched. We went with what we had. Malik stepped forward, voice rising. What you had was a prejudice, not evidence. Judge Brewster slammed his gavel. Mr. Thompson, this is a court of law, not a rally speech. I'm aware, Your Honor, Malik replied, but justice doesn't care about age or race. It only cares about truth. For 3 days, Malik tore through the prosecution's case. He subpoenaed phone records, security footage from nearby businesses, and even found a witness, a young Latina woman named Rosa, who had seen the real perpetrator run out of the store that night. He was white, she said, about my height. Ran like he was dragging one leg. You didn't tell this to the police, Malik asked. They never asked me. Janice objected. Your Honor, this is hearsay. It's eyewitness testimony. Malik snapped back. And it directly contradicts the prosecution's narrative. Judge Brewster's face reddened, but he nodded. Overruled. Malik continued, voice rising with each point. He brought in a medical specialist to confirm Elridge Harris had never walked with a limp. He showed ATM footage proving Harris was on the other side of town during the robbery. He even found inconsistencies in the timestamps of the police report. And finally, he dropped the bomb. Your Honor, Malik said on the 4th day, I have in my possession video evidence that shows the real perpetrator entering a pawn shop 30 minutes after the robbery, attempting to sell stolen lottery tickets. The shopkeeper provided this footage voluntarily. He played it. The man on screen was clearly white, limping, and matched Rosa's description to a T. The courtroom fell silent again. Janice Merrow looked pale. Judge Brewster gripped the sides of his bench. Miss Merrow, I have no explanation. Malik turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, Elridge Harris didn't commit this crime. He was arrested because he was poor, black, and had a minor charge from 2 decades ago. If we allow this to happen, what does it say about the law we claim to uphold? Silence hung like smoke. The jury deliberated for less than 30 minutes. Not guilty. Elridge burst into tears. Malik sat down, exhausted, trembling slightly. Judge Brewster looked at him for a long time. Mr. Thompson approached the bench. Malik walked up, calm and collected. The judge studied him, eyes squinting. You embarrassed me in my own courtroom. Wasn't my intention, but you were right. All of it. I misjudged you. You judged me before I said a single word. Brewster sighed. This world isn't kind to men like you. You're young and black, but you're also brilliant. Don't let this place break you. I won't, Malik said, because people like Mr. Harris need someone to fight for them, and I intend to do exactly that. As Malik turned to leave the courtroom, every person in the gallery stood up. Even Janice Merrow gave a reluctant nod of respect. Elridge hugged him outside the courthouse, still weeping. I thought I was done for, he whispered. They were going to bury me. You're free now, Malik said, and we're just getting started. The press flooded in, cameras, microphones. The headline that would run the next morning across every paper in the state: 17-year-old black lawyer destroys case in court. Judge forced to apologize after laughter. Turns to shock. But for Malik Thompson, it wasn't about headlines. It was about something deeper, justice, and he was just getting warmed up. The air outside the courthouse was electric. Reporters swarmed. Microphones reached toward Malik like flowers tilting to the sun. Cameras flashed. Some people chanted his name. Others cried, It was as though the world had never seen anything like him, and in truth, it hadn't. But Malik wasn't smiling. He stood beside Elridge Harris, one hand on the man's shoulder, shielding him from the chaos as much as he could. "Mr. Thompson, how did you pass the bar so young? Are you some kind of genius? What's next for you? Do you believe race played a role in this case?" Malik raised a hand, signaling calm. The crowd hushed. "I didn't do this for fame," he said, voice firm but steady. "I did it because a man was being buried alive under a system that too often forgets what justice really means. I'm not a miracle. I'm not a prodigy. I'm a product of what happens when someone believes they have the right to fight back and refuses to wait their turn." The crowd exploded into cheers. Elridge wept again, his shoulders shaking. "I owe you my life," he said hoarsely. "You don't owe me anything," Malik replied, locking eyes with him. "But someone else owes you a hell of an apology." And with that, Malik turned and walked down the steps, briefcase in hand, his footsteps steady, deliberate. Inside the courthouse, Judge Brewster sat alone, staring at the empty courtroom. The laughter he had thrown at Malik 4 days ago echoed in his mind like a curse. He looked at the bench, the robe, the gavel. For the first time in his 23-year career, he felt ashamed. Back home in their small apartment on the south side of the city, Malik's mother, Angela, had watched the entire trial from the kitchen table. Her hands had gripped a chipped mug of coffee so tightly her knuckles had turned white. When the verdict came down, she dropped the mug, shattering it on the floor. Now she sat on the couch, waiting. When Malik walked in, she rushed forward and wrapped him in a hug so tight he nearly dropped the briefcase. "You did it," she whispered, tears soaking into his shoulder. "Oh, baby, you did it." Malik held her close, resting his forehead against hers. "You raised me for this, Mama. You gave up everything." "No," she said, pulling back. "You were born for this. I just got to witness it." There were no more words for a long while, just silence, peaceful, warm. But Malik didn't rest. The next day, he was at the community center, speaking to a group of black teens, aged 12 to 18. "I want you to understand something," he told them, pacing the floor. "No one's going to hand you the keys. You've got to build your own doors. They'll laugh. They'll doubt you. They'll try to make you small." He paused, holding their eyes. "But if you know who you are, if you're ready to work harder than they think you can, then they'll never be able to ignore you." A hand shot up. A boy with cornrows, maybe 15, eyes burning with curiosity. "Did you always want to be a lawyer?" Malik smiled faintly. "No. At first, I just wanted to make sure my mom didn't cry herself to sleep anymore. Then I wanted to make sure nobody's mom had to." Another hand. "How did you pass the bar?" "Studied 12 hours a day, every day. From age 13 to 16. No parties, no games, just books, court recordings, and a vision." The room was silent. The weight of his words settled deep. "Now," he said, "who wants to start building their own doors?" Every hand went up. Meanwhile, at the state prosecutor's office, Janice Merrow sat in her office, watching the viral video of the trial on her screen. Over and over, she watched the moment Malik exposed the truth, her jaw clenched tighter each time. There had been a time she thought she stood for justice. Now she wasn't so sure. "Miss Merrow," her assistant poked in. "There's someone here to see you. Says his name's Malik Thompson." She blinked. "Let him in." Malik entered, calm as ever. "You want to sue the department for wrongful prosecution?" she asked without preamble. "No," Malik said. "That won't change anything. I want something else." She tilted her head. "What?" "I want you to work with me." Janice laughed. "Excuse me. You know the flaws in this system. I saw it in your face the moment the video played. You realized it, didn't you? You realized you were part of something broken." Her eyes narrowed. "I'm not your enemy." "No," Malik said. "But you're not helping unless you change how things work." "And what? You think a 17-year-old kid can lead reform?" "I think a 17-year-old just taught a courtroom full of people what justice really looks like." He said, I've got people backing me now. Funders, community leaders, judges watching. We're going to start a foundation. We'll train young legal minds, provide defense for those who can't afford it, investigate wrongful arrests. I need someone who knows how the system works from the dot inside. Janice stared. This isn't about me, Malik said. This is about fixing what we both know is cracked. She folded her arms. And if I say no, then I'll see you in court again, next time. Across the aisle, Janice leaned back, considering. Give me until Monday. Monday, Malik nodded, standing. But make no mistake, we're moving forward either way. Word spread fast. The story hit national media, talk shows, interviews, debates. Some praised Malik as a hero. Others said he was a fluke. He ignored it all, because every day, someone else wrote to his email with a story like Elridge Harris's. And Malik remembered them all. He set up the Justice Rising Initiative, an organization focused on defending underserved clients and training youth in law literacy. His mother ran operations. A small team of lawyers, law students, and community activists joined him. Within weeks, they overturned 3 more wrongful arrests. Within months, they filed a class action suit against the city's discriminatory policing policies. And in every courtroom, Malik stood calm, precise, unshaken. But the world wasn't done testing him. One morning, he received a letter. State versus Jalen Thompson, his younger brother, charged with resisting arrest, a fake charge. A dirty cop. Malik stared at the page, his hands trembling for the first time in months. His mother was crying again. Not this time. This time, it was personal. He picked up the phone, called his team. Cancel everything. We have a new case. And when he walked into that courtroom, same shoes, same briefcase, same fire behind his eyes, Judge Brewster looked up from the bench. You again, he muttered. Me again, Malik replied. The judge exhaled. Let's get to work. And so it began again, this time for blood, this time for family. And Malik Thompson, black, brilliant, .17 was ready. Malik's shoes tapped sharply against the courtroom's marble floors. He walked with focus, anger tucked neatly beneath his suit like a loaded weapon. The courtroom was smaller than the last, more intimate, more suffocating. This wasn't the kind of high-profile trial that made headlines, at least not yet. But to Malik, it was the most important case of his life, because the defendant seated in the corner, wearing a county-issued orange jumpsuit and shackles too tight for his wrists, was his little brother, Jalen Thompson, 16 years old, arrested during a traffic stop. The charge, resisting arrest. There was no mention of what he was being arrested for in the first place. The officer claimed Jalen had been aggressive, threatening, and had refused to comply. There was no body cam footage. Convenient. Malik's jaw clenched as he sat at the defense table and looked at his brother. Jay, he whispered. Jalen looked up. His eyes, so much like Malik's, were dim, hollow. They're trying to crush me. Man, Jalen said softly. Like I'm some animal. You're not, Malik said. And they picked the wrong family. Judge Brewster entered. Malik felt the tension in the air tighten like piano wire. The judge stared down at Malik. I take it you're representing the defendant. I am. Brewster adjusted his glasses. I assume you understand the optics of this. I understand justice. He wasn't asking permission. The prosecution this time was a man named Carlton Riggs, older, balding, and bloated with smugness. He walked with the weight of privilege and decades of unchallenged wins. He barely looked at Malik, but when he did, it was with thinly veiled contempt. We have Officer Grayson ready to testify, Riggs announced. Grayson. That name had been echoing in Malik's head for days. Malik didn't speak. He just nodded. Officer Grayson took the stand. White, mid-40s, clean-shaven. He wore his uniform like armor and sat like a man used to getting away with everything. Explain what happened. That night, Riggs prompted. Grayson cleared his throat. The suspect was loitering outside a gas station, looked suspicious. I approached and asked for ID. He refused, became hostile, started shouting. I feared for my safety. I attempted to detain him. He resisted. We had to subdue him. You say way. Were you alone? I was first responder. Backup arrived after I called for it. Was the suspect armed? Riggs asked. No, sir. Did he threaten you? Verbally dies. Malik stood slowly. Officer Grayson, did you file a report? Yes. Did you wear your body cam? Grayson hesitated. It malfunctioned. Interesting. Is there a record of the malfunction? Grayson shifted in his seat. It wasn't logged. No. Why not? I didn't realize until after the incident. So let me get this straight, Malik said, stepping forward. You approached a minor who wasn't doing anything illegal. Demanded ID, didn't get it. Claimed he was aggressive, had no footage, and then arrested him for resisting something he shouldn't have had to comply with in the first place. Grayson's jaw tightened. He was being loud, aggressive, threatening. Did he hit you? No. Did he push you? No. Did he even touch you? Grayson stared. No. Then what exactly did he resist? Grayson flushed. I don't have to justify my safety protocol to you, kid. Malik's voice dropped an octave. Actually, in this courtroom, you do. Riggs stood, objection badgering the witness. Sustained, Brewster said. But his tone had changed. He was watching now, closely. Malik didn't back down. I'd like to submit video evidence into the record, he said. Riggs turned. What video? Malik opened his briefcase, pulled out a tablet, and connected it to the courtroom screen. This is gas station security footage. Different angle. Shows everything. The screen flickered to life. There, in grainy footage, Jalen stood outside the store, headphones in, nodding to music. Officer Grayson approached. Jalen didn't hear him at first. Grayson grabbed his arm. Jalen jumped back, startled, pulled out his earbuds. There was no shouting, no threats, just confusion. Then Grayson shoved him against the wall. Hard. Gasps echoed through the room. Pause, Malik said. As you can see, my brother was attacked, not arrested. He never resisted. He never even understood why he was being approached. Grayson stammered. That footage it's incomplete. Perhaps, Malik said. So let's make it more complete. He hit play again. A second officer ran into frame. This one had a body cam, and it was working. Malik had found it by subpoenaing footage from another angle that hadn't been disclosed. Riggs's face turned ashen. The cam footage showed the moment. Jalen was slammed to the ground, hands behind his back, still asking what he did wrong. No threats, no resistance. Just a black boy trying to breathe. I'd also like to submit audio from the second officer's body cam, Malik said. The audio played. Dude, what are you doing? The second officer said. He's just a kid. Mind your business. Grayson snapped. They're all the same. Silence fell. A silence so loud it screamed. Riggs sat down without a word. Judge Brewster stared at Grayson. I've seen enough, he said. Malik turned to the judge, breathing hard. I move for immediate dismissal of all charges and request that this court refer Officer Grayson to internal affairs for misconduct, abuse of power, and falsifying a police report. Brewster didn't hesitate. Granted. The gavel slammed. Jalen broke down. Angela, their mother, sobbed in the back row. Malik just stood there, eyes forward, like a statue carved in fire. Outside the courtroom, people waited. Again, but this time, they weren't just reporters. They were neighbors, youth, protesters, survivors. They chanted his name. Again, this time, with purpose. Malik, 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 Malik. But Malik wasn't interested in chants. He walked straight to Jalen, pulled him into a hug, and whispered, I told you, they picked the wrong family. And this time, Jalen smiled, even through the tears, because he believed it now. The Thompson brothers weren't just surviving. They were rewriting the rules, one trial at a time. And Malik, he was just getting started. The crowd outside was thicker than ever. This time, they didn't just want answers. They wanted a leader. Malik could feel it in the way they moved, the way their voices swelled like rising thunder. They didn't see a 17-year-old kid anymore. They saw a symbol, a rebellion in a suit. Jalen stood beside him now, free but shaken. Angela held on to both her sons, her hands trembling with both joy and fury. The cameras surged forward, but Malik raised a hand again. Not for silence this time, for attention. "They tried to ruin him," Malik said, his voice lifting over the sea of faces. "They didn't ask what he did. They didn't look for truth. They saw his skin and assumed guilt." Shouts of agreement surged forward like a wave. "They planted a lie. We ripped it out by the roots." Reporters pushed closer. One of them, a gray-haired anchor with trembling fingers, stepped to the front. "Mr. Thompson, what are you trying to build here? What's next?" Malik didn't even blink. A movement. He meant it. The Justice Rising initiative exploded overnight. Donations flooded in. Legal volunteers from all over the country signed up. Law professors sent messages begging to join his advisory board. Black and brown families poured their hearts into his inbox. Mothers, children, all broken by the same system that had tried to eat Jalen alive. But not everyone was happy. In the smoky corners of power, whispers turned to roars. At the state bar headquarters, a closed-door meeting was underway. "He's 17, barked an older man in a plaid suit, slamming his palm against the polished oak table. "This boy is dangerous, uncontrolled. He's undermining our institution. He hasn't broken any laws." A woman in a navy blazer countered, "He's doing what we failed to do. He's making us look incompetent." The room fell quiet. Then a younger man, eyes narrowed, leaned forward. "Let's find a way to discredit him, quietly. If we can't stop him with rules, we stop him with noise." Back in Malik's office, a converted wing of the community center, he was surrounded by case files, dozens, wrongful evictions, police beatings, juvenile detentions for absurd, odd offenses. His team of 10 was buried in paperwork, coffee cups, and adrenaline. "Boss," said Keisha, a sharp paralegal who had once been wrongfully imprisoned herself, "there's a new file. Name's Isaiah Coleman. 17. Same age as you. They've got him in juvie charged with grand theft auto." But the car was his uncle's. The uncle's in a coma, so he couldn't confirm it. Malik took the file. "Who arrested him?" Keisha hesitated. "Grayson." Malik didn't even pause. "We take the case. Now. But there's no family to contact, no living relatives, no lawyer, no public defender. Who gives a damn? Then we give a damn." He turned to the board and scratched another name onto the wall. A growing list of souls left to rot by a system too lazy to care. And the more cases he took, the more resistance grew. One morning, Malik stepped outside and found his car keyed with a slur. Another day, an anonymous note was slid under his door. "Back off. You're just a kid. Stay in your lane, or you won't make it to 18. Angela begged him to slow down. But Malik's answer was always the same. "I don't sleep when they're suffering." In court for Isaiah's case, he faced a new judge, Judge Rhonda Bellamy. Black, middle-aged. Her eyes were sharp, her tone even sharper. "You think you're invincible, Mr. Thompson." "No, Your Honor," Malik said. "I think silence is a luxury we can't afford." The courtroom tensed. "This isn't Twitter," Bellamy warned. "This is the law. Don't grandstand." "I'm not here for applause," Malik replied. "I'm here because a 17-year-old boy was jailed without evidence." He produced signed affidavits from Isaiah's neighbors, confirming the car had been driven regularly by the boy, his uncle often in the passenger seat. He showed store receipts matching Isaiah's location during the alleged theft. And finally, a nurse's note confirming that when Isaiah's uncle was briefly conscious, the first words he muttered were, "Tell them the car's his." The judge leaned back. "I'm releasing the defendant to his own recognizance," she said. All charges dropped. Malik's hands trembled as he gathered his notes. Victory again, but it didn't feel like winning anymore. It felt like surviving, like trying to hold back a flood with paper walls. Later that night, sitting in a dark office, Jalen came to him. "Why are you still doing this?" Malik didn't answer at first. Then, staring at a photo of Elridge Harris, he whispered, "Because if I stop, then they win." The next day, the backlash came. A full-page article in the city paper. "Is Malik Thompson too young to represent justice?" They called him reckless. They called him arrogant. They said he was turning the court into theater. They questioned his age, his experience, his race, everything except his record, which was still flawless. Then, the bombshell. The State Bar Association sent him a letter, a review hearing, accusation, potential violation of ethics and courtroom conduct. He was being dragged into a professional trial. They wanted to take his license. He held the letter in shaking hands. Angela wept. Jalen punched the wall. "You gonna let them do this?" he cried. Malik stood. "I'll defend myself." Keisha grabbed his arm. "You can't represent yourself at a hearing like that." "I have to," Malik said. "They don't want a lawyer. They want to kill what I represent." The hearing was set. Media flooded the courthouse steps. Inside, a panel of 5, all white, all seasoned, all stone-faced. Malik stood at the center, alone. The lead interrogator, Mr. Farnsworth, adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Thompson, you are a minor. You've incited public outrage. You've embarrassed seasoned professionals. You've challenged procedures with the arrogance of youth." "I've saved lives," Malik replied. Farnsworth's lip twitched. "You may think you are a hero, but law is not a tool for activism." "No, sir," Malik said, eyes hard. "It's a tool for truth. And if the system fears truth, then maybe the system needs a hearing too." He pulled out a folder. "Here are 27 names, people I've defended. Every charge dismissed. Every case handled within the bounds of the law. Verified. Documented. You say I'm reckless, prove it." He dropped the folder with a thud. The room fell. Quiet. Farnsworth flipped through the pages. His face paled. Judge Bellamy walked into the room, uninvited, but unafraid. "I came to testify," she said. "I've seen lawyers 4 times his age with half his spine. If the law had more Malik Thompsons, we wouldn't need so many appeals." One by one, others entered. Janice Merrow, Elridge Harris, Isaiah Coleman. Even Officer Darren Cole, the same man who'd testified against Elridge, walked in and said, "I was wrong, and he showed me why." The panel was speechless. Finally, Farnsworth cleared his throat. "The board finds no grounds for disciplinary action. License stands." The courthouse exploded with applause. But Malik didn't smile. He just turned, walked outside, and looked up at the sky. The battle was far from over. But justice had a new name, and it was his. The next morning came like thunder, rolling in heavy with tension. Malik stood on the rooftop of the Justice Rising building, the city sprawling out before him. Lights blinked in the haze. Police sirens echoed in the distance. And the world, as always, kept spinning. But something was different now. Malik could feel it in the wind. Eyes were watching. Powerful eyes. And not all of them were friendly. His phone buzzed in his pocket. "Unknown number. You've been lucky so far, but luck runs out. Leave the courtroom, or we'll make sure you never step foot in one again." Malik stared at the message, exhaled, and deleted it. He turned and walked back inside. "We've got a problem," Keisha said, holding up a file. "New case. Young man named Gerald Baines. They're charging him with assaulting an officer. But there's something else." "What?" She handed him a glossy photo. A white man in uniform, built like a linebacker, covered in tattoos that weren't military. Skull insignias. Confederate flag inked across his bicep. The kind of man who made you nervous in silence. "That's the officer Darrell supposedly assaulted," Keisha said. "Name's Travis Holt." Malik didn't blink. "We take it," he said. Keisha hesitated. "You sure? This guy, he's not just a thug in uniform. He's got connections. He's part of the Blue Cross Brotherhood. Underground cop clique. Violent. Untouchable." "I don't care if he's a ghost," Malik said. "If he's putting kids in jail to feed his power trip, then we shine the biggest damn light we can." Keisha gave a tight nod. "All right then." Within 24 hours, they had the basics. Darrell was 17. Straight A student. No record. He'd been stopped walking home from tutoring at 9 p.m. The cops said he fit the description. When Darrell asked what description, he was shoved against the hood of a squad car. Witnesses said they heard the boy scream. And then Holt claimed Darrell struck him. Darrell's knuckles had no bruising. Holt had a broken wrist. Too clean. Too perfect. Malik met Daryl that night in the holding center. The boy was shaking in his chair, lips split, one eye swollen. "Did you hit him?" Malik asked. "No," Daryl whispered. "I never even raised my hand. I tried to cover my face. That's it." Malik leaned forward. "I believe you, and I'm going to prove it." The trial was set for the following Monday, but something was off from the beginning. The courtroom was crawling with officers, lined up in the back like an audience of wolves. Every one of them wore the same patch on their shoulder, a blue cross inside a black circle. Silent, staring. Even Judge Brewster was unusually tense. "This case is under high scrutiny," he warned. "I want both sides to remember, this is a courtroom, not a battleground." Malik stared directly at Officer Holt, who sat smugly at the witness table. "Too late for that," Malik murmured. The prosecution began, painting Daryl as angry, combative, hostile. The typical language, the coded language. Malik had seen it all before. He'd heard this story 100 times, except this time it was being told to cover for a gang in uniform. When it was Malik's turn, he stood calmly. "Officer Holt, you've served how long?" 8 years. "Ever discharged your weapon?" "Twice. Both justified." "Ever been accused of misconduct?" "No," Holt said quickly. Malik smiled faintly. "I'd like to submit Exhibit A," he said, holding up a folder. "Internal Affairs Complaints, 13. None filed by the department, but submitted by citizens, all sealed. Until now, he passed copies to the judge and jury. Allegations of excessive force, racial slurs, physical threats, and in 3 cases, medical injuries to unarmed minors. You want to tell me those were all just misunderstandings?" "Objection," the prosecutor barked. "Irrelevant and inflammatory. Overruled," Brewster said slowly, eyes narrowed. "Continue, Mr. Thompson." Malik walked forward, setting down the second piece of evidence. Exhibit B footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera, not disclosed by the arresting officers, shows the incident. The screen lit up. There it was, Daryl walking, headphones in. Officer Holt approaching fast. The boy stopping, pulling out his ID. Holt grabbing his arm, twisting it, shoving him, then striking him across the face. Daryl fell. Holt's wrist caught the car door as he moved to restrain him hard. That was the assault. Silence. Malik turned back to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, my client wasn't the assailant. He was the victim. Officer Holt wasn't injured by Daryl. He was injured by his own brutality." Holt stood. "This is a goddamn setup. Sit down," Judge Brewster snapped. "One more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt." The jury delivered the verdict that afternoon. Not guilty. Malik and Daryl hugged, the boy breaking down in his arms. But the war was just beginning. That night, Malik's office was broken into, files scattered, desks overturned, graffiti across the walls. One phrase in dripping red paint, "YOURE next." Jalen found him standing in the wreckage the next morning. "We need protection," he said. "This isn't court stuff anymore. This is war." Malik didn't look at him, just stared at the wall, where the graffiti bled like a wound. "No," he said. "What we need is exposure." He called every news station, every journalist, every ally. Within 2 days, a press conference was held. Malik stood at the podium. Behind him, Daryl, Elridge, Isaiah, and half a dozen others, all free because of him. "I've been threatened, attacked, watched, and now vandalized. But I'm not stepping down, because this isn't about me. This is about a machine that has eaten too many lives and called it justice." He raised a hand. "We're not victims. We're not afraid. We are the resistance." The video went viral. Overnight, rallies bloomed across the city. Hundreds marched with signs that read, "Justice has no age and I stand with Malik." Even celebrities joined in. Donations soared. Legal support tripled. But in the background, the Brotherhood moved silently. And then it happened. Angela was followed home. 2 men in plain clothes. She made it inside, but her hands shook as she called Malik. They just sat there," she whispered, "watching, waiting." Malik's fury burned white-hot. He went straight to the district attorney's office, straight to the top. "Either you dismantle this brotherhood," he said, eyes blazing, "or I go public with everything." A middle-aged black woman named Lorraine Castillo, met his gaze. "I've wanted to stop them for years," she admitted, "but I didn't have the power." "You do now," Malik said. "You've got a movement behind you." That week, 21 officers were suspended pending investigation. 10 were charged. Travis Holt was arrested. Malik stood on the courthouse steps that day as the cuffs were snapped on. "You tried to silence me," he said, "but you made me louder." Reporters cried questions. Malik raised his voice. "We're not finished. Not by a long shot." And the people answered him. From the balconies, the streets, the rooftops, they shouted, "Malik, Malik, Malik!" It wasn't just a name anymore, it was a promise. The sky was a heavy shade of gray. The morning Malik stepped back into the courtroom for the biggest case of his life. Not because the stakes were personal this time, or because the defendant was a high-profile figure. No, this time the city itself was on trial. The case was People versus the City of Hargrave. Malik Thompson, 17 years old, already a legend. Already a target, was leading a class action lawsuit representing 38 black and brown families whose loved ones had been wrongfully arrested, abused, and in 3 tragic cases, killed by officers connected to the Blue Cross Brotherhood. The judge assigned wasn't Brewster. It was Justice Carmen Rainey, black, sharp, feared, respected, and watching Malik with a curious, cautious stare as he set his briefcase on the table. "You're sure you want to do this?" she asked before opening statements. "This trial will bring out the ugliest parts of this city. You'll be in the crosshairs." Literally. Malik looked her square in the eyes. "Justice isn't clean," he said, "but it's still worth fighting for." She nodded once, then proceed. On the other side of the courtroom sat a phalanx of high-paid attorneys in sleek suits with dead eyes. The city had brought out its best to bury Malik in procedure, technicalities, and bureaucracy. There were 5 lawyers, each older than his mother, but none of them looked as ready as he did. The opening arguments began. The city's attorneys leaned on legal precedent, complex policy language, and strategic vagueness. They tried to blur lines, dilute truth with red tape. But when Malik stood, the courtroom changed. He didn't start with a legal theory. He started with a name. Elijah Moore, 16. Shot in the back during a routine stop while unarmed. He clicked the remote. A photo appeared. A boy, smiling, in a graduation gown. Then another name. Kamira West, 32. Arrested for interfering with an investigation. Her crime: recording an officer beating her neighbor. She lost her job, her house, her voice. Another photo, a mother holding her baby. Name after name, face after face. By the time he was done, the room was silent. Even the opposing counsel shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. "These aren't statistics," Malik said. "They're people. And this city allowed a culture of violence, silence, and cover-up to grow under its watch. Today, that ends." The trial lasted 4 weeks. Every day, Malik brought new witnesses, new documents, whistleblowers. One of them, a former precinct captain, testified in a shaking voice. "We were told to meet quotas. And the quotas always came from the same neighborhoods. We called them target zones. Code for black and poor. The city's lawyers tried every trick, challenged every witness, objected to every piece of evidence. But Malik anticipated it all. He was precise, calm, ruthless when he had to be. By the 3rd week, one of the city's lawyers offered to settle. Malik refused. "I didn't come for a check," he said. "I came for change." The final day of testimony arrived. Malik took the stand himself. The courtroom hushed. Even Judge Rainey leaned forward. "I was told I couldn't be here," Malik began. "They said I was too young, too black, too angry. They laughed at me, tried to silence me, tried to destroy my family. But every time they pushed, I pushed harder." He paused, letting the silence stretch. Because for every voice they tried to bury, I heard 10 more rising. And now we're here not to ask for justice, to demand it. He looked at the jury. My clients don't want pity. They want accountability. They want to walk down the street without fear. They want to exist. That's not too much to ask. That's not revolutionary. That's human. He stepped down. The jury deliberated for 2 days. The verdict, liability confirmed. The city was ordered to pay $81 million in damages and to immediately initiate a full audit and reform of its police department, with Malik Thompson appointed as an official legal oversight representative. The courtroom erupted. Outside, the crowd was deafening. Thousands packed the courthouse steps. News crews from across the country pointed cameras. Drones buzzed in the air. Malik stood on the top step. Beside him, Elridge, Jalen, Daryl, Isaiah, Kamira, and a dozen more. Survivors, warriors. I was told I'd burn out, Malik said into the microphone. But I'm not a flame. He looked at the sea of faces. I'm a fuse. And the crowd lit up with a roar that shook the city. That night, alone in his room, Malik stared out the window, heart still pounding. He thought of everything. His mother's sleepless nights, Jalen's broken voice, the blood on Daryl's shirt, the grief in Kamira's eyes. He thought of all the names still to fight for. He opened his laptop, started typing. A manifesto, a blueprint for a national coalition of young attorneys, activists, and reformers. It began with the words, "We are not waiting our turn." The next morning, he received a phone call. "Mr. Thompson," the voice said, calm and smooth. "This is President Moreno. I'd like to meet with you." Malik blinked, then smiled. "Yes, Madam President, when and where?" As the sun rose over the city, casting golden light across broken sidewalks and hopeful faces. One thing was certain, they had tried to laugh at him, but he had become something they could never silence. And he was just getting started.